Welcome back to the deep dive where we dig into some stuff you probably thought you already knew, but we're going to dig deeper.
Yeah.
So today, we're going way back in time, like 12,000 years.
Wow.
To explore a turning point in human history that's so huge
Okay.
that we still feel the effects of it today.
Right.
And that is the agricultural revolution.
The big one.
The big one.
Yeah.
So this is the story of how we went from nomadic hunter-gatherers to, the world we live in now. But was this shift really progress?
That's a good question.
And what kind of unexpected consequences are we still grappling with today?
Yeah, that's a key question. There's this common misconception
Right.
that the hunter-gatherer lifestyle was just this constant struggle for survival.
Yeah, always on the brink of starvation.
Right, exactly. But archaeological evidence actually paints a different picture.
Does it?
Yeah, more balanced diets, ample leisure time.
Really?
Yeah. And not the constant threat of starvation that many imagine. They had, a deep understanding of their environment.
Okay.
They migrated with the seasons to take advantage of nature's bounty.
So it wasn't exactly survival of the fittest 24/7.
No, not really.
More like work-life balance, Paleolithic style.
You could say that, yeah, their lifestyle, which anthropologists refer to as nomadism, allowed them to adapt to all these diverse environments and avoid overexploiting any resources. But then things changed.
Oh.
The climate shifted, populations grew.
Makes sense.
And a new chapter began.
Okay.
We entered the Neolithic period.
The Neolithic.
And the seeds of the agricultural revolution were sown.
Okay, so climate change and growing populations, like a classic recipe for upheaval.
Yeah, definitely.
But how did this lead to farming?
Right.
Was it like a sudden shift?
Well, no, not really.
Or more of a gradual evolution?
It was a gradual thing. It's a process of domestication, but not just humans domesticating plants.
Oh.
Some argue that plants like wheat and rice actually domesticated us.
Hold on, plants domesticated us?
Yeah.
Now that's a fascinating twist.
Think about it. These grains, with their abundance of calories and their ability to be stored, they incentivize people to settle nearby.
Okay.
And this sedentism led to larger communities, permanent dwellings, and this growing reliance on those staple crops.
So we basically went from nomadic freedom to being tied to a field of wheat.
In a way, yeah.
This sounds like a pretty risky trade-off.
It was definitely a gamble.
If the crop failed, you'd be in big trouble.
Right, exactly. It's a concept some historians call the grain trap.
The grain trap. I like that.
Yeah, it's like investing your life savings in a single stock. Relying on a few staple crops made early farmers incredibly vulnerable to droughts, pests, and other disasters.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And surprisingly, this shift to agriculture didn't even improve health.
Really?
Yeah.
What were the downside? I mean, was it just the risk of crop failures?
No, not just that. Skeletal evidence suggests that early farmers were actually shorter and less healthy than their hunter-gatherer ancestors.
Wow.
They were working longer and harder, often for the same amount of calories.
Wait, they traded a diverse nomadic lifestyle for harder work, a less diverse diet, and they ended up shorter and sicker.
It seems counterintuitive, right?
That's not exactly progress as I imagined it.
Right.
What were the health impacts specifically?
Well, relying on a limited number of crops led to nutritional deficiencies.
Right.
And then close proximity to livestock in these larger settlements increased the spread of disease.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
And the physically demanding repetitive labor of farming took a toll on their bodies, even leading to skeletal changes.
So they weren't just shorter, they were physically changing because of the work.
Yeah, the evidence is pretty clear.
That's a stark contrast to the image of, our ancestors roaming free, enjoying nature's bounty.
It is a different picture for sure.
Yeah.
And it forces us to reconsider this whole narrative of progress that's associated with the agricultural revolution.
I see that.
Yes, agriculture paved the way for incredible developments.
But it came at a cost.
Right.
One that we're still grappling with today.
Yeah, so it's like we traded freedom for the illusion of security.
Yeah.
And ended up working harder for a less healthy life.
It does seem that way.
Makes you wonder, why didn't people just go back to hunting and gathering?
Well, there's a certain momentum to these large-scale societal shifts.
I guess so.
Once populations grew and became reliant on agriculture, it would have been incredibly difficult to just abandon those systems.
Yeah.
Plus, despite all the downsides,
right.
agriculture did enable some pretty remarkable advancement.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we did go from these small nomadic groups to sprawling cities with all the art and culture and these complex social structures.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
It's hard to imagine that happening without agriculture.
Right. As food became more readily available and communities grew larger, it led to the emergence of villages and then cities, and we needed new ways to organize, manage surplus food, keep track of everything.
Exactly. Resolve disputes, maintain order.
Yeah.
And this is where we see social hierarchies emerge.
Oh, okay.
Specialized roles like priests and kings. And even the invention of writing.
So writing, one of the cornerstones of civilization,
arguably,
was born out of the need to keep track of grain and taxes.
Kind of funny, isn't it?
It's amazing how these seemingly disparate things are connected.
It really is. It highlights the cascading effects of the agricultural revolution.
So true.
Think about it with larger communities and more complex social structures.
Yeah.
There is this need to track who owned what, how much grain was stored, who owed taxes.
That.
Yeah, early forms of writing emerged to meet those needs.
Okay, so it was essentially like the first accounting system.
Pretty much.
From foraging for berries to balancing budgets.
You had a journey, right?
What a journey. But you mentioned earlier that the agricultural revolution didn't really end.
Right.
How is that possible? Are you saying we're all still farmers at heart?
In a way, yes. We may not be tilling the fields ourselves.
Right.
But many aspects of modern life still bear the imprint of that ancient shift.
Like what?
Well, the way we work, the way we consume, even the way we structure our societies. It all has echoes of an agricultural legacy.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Give me some examples.
Yeah.
How does our modern 9-to-5 world connect back to the fields of the Fertile Crescent?
Okay, so think about it. Just as those early farmers were tied to the land and the cyclical demands of their crops,
right,
many of us feel tethered to our jobs, trading our time and labor for resources.
Yeah, that's true.
We still operate under a system that encourages us to accumulate surplus.
Like,
whether it's money, possessions, even social status.
Right.
And this pursuit of more can sometimes come at the expense of well-being, much like it did for early farmers.
So instead of tending wheat fields, we're tending spreadsheets.
Yeah, good analogy.
But that underlying drive to accumulate and produce is the same.
It seems to be a common thread.
It's like that grain trap you mentioned has evolved into a modern-day work trap.
That's a very insightful way to put it. Yeah, we've inherited this system that values productivity and accumulation.
Right.
Even when it doesn't necessarily lead to greater happiness or fulfillment.
It's a bit unsettling to think about those ancient patterns.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Still playing out in our lives, even though we live in such a different world.
It's a lot to process.
But does that mean we're doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past?
I don't think so.
Is there a way to break free from this cycle?
It's not about breaking free entirely, I'd say.
Okay.
But becoming aware of these deeply ingrained patterns and finding ways to adapt them to better suit our needs.
Okay.
You know, the agricultural revolution itself was a process of adaptation and innovation.
Right.
We can continue that process today.
So what do we do?
But first, we need to ask the right questions.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of questions should we be asking ourselves?
Well, we need to question the assumptions we've inherited about work consumption and progress.
Okay.
Why do we work the way we do? Why do we consume the way we do?
Right.
Why do we place so much emphasis on accumulating more, even if it comes at the expense of our well-being or the health of the planet?
These are some big questions.
They are.
But like you said earlier, progress starts with questioning, with challenging assumptions.
Absolutely.
So where do we go from there? How do we turn those big questions into meaningful change?
It starts with awareness.
Okay.
By understanding the historical forces that have shaped our behaviors and our systems, we can begin to make more conscious choices.
Like what kinds of choices?
Well, we can be more mindful about our consumption habits, support local farmers and sustainable agricultural practices, or even just carve out more time for rest and leisure.
I like that, bringing back the value of rest and leisure.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start a movement to reinstate the afternoon nap.
Now, that's an idea I can get behind.
Right.
But beyond individual actions, we also need to think about systemic solutions.
Like what?
How can we create economic models that prioritize well-being over endless growth? How can we design cities that foster community and connection rather than isolation and competition? How can we reshape our relationship with food to ensure both sustainability and nourishment for all?
Those are some complex challenges.
They are.
But it feels hopeful to think that we can draw inspiration from our own history.
I think so too.
After all, if our ancestors could figure out how to domesticate plants and build cities from scratch,
right,
surely we can find creative solutions to the challenges we face today.
Absolutely. The agricultural revolution may have had its downsides, but it also demonstrated the incredible capacity of humans to innovate, to adapt,
to create
new ways of living. That same capacity exists within us today.
So maybe the ultimate legacy of the agricultural revolution isn't just about the grain trap or the invention of taxes, but about a reminder that we have the power to shape our world.
I like that.
To learn from the past and create a future that's more aligned with our values.
Beautifully put. And it brings us back to the core of what we're doing here today.
Which is?
Understanding the past to navigate the present.
Right.
By excavating the layers of the agricultural revolution, we gain insights into our own behaviors, our societal structures, and our potential to create a more just and sustainable future.
Wow. It's like we've been on this incredible archaeological dig. Uncovering the roots of our modern world. We've gone from following ancient migration patterns.
Fascinating, right?
To mapping out the evolution of cities. And even our 9-to-5 work culture.
It's all connected.
Yeah, and what we found is that the agricultural revolution wasn't just a one-time event.
No.
It's an ongoing process, a story that's still unfolding.
Absolutely.
So if we're all still living in the shadow of this ancient revolution,
right,
does that mean we're stuck with its downsides?
Well,
I mean, are we destined to be trapped in this cycle of overwork and overconsumption?
I don't think so necessarily. Remember, humans are incredibly adaptable.
That's true.
We've been shaping our world and ourselves for millennia.
Yeah.
The key is to recognize the patterns we've inherited and make conscious choices about how we want to live.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we rewrite the next chapter of this story?
It starts with awareness.
Okay. Yeah.
But it doesn't end there.
Right.
We need to move beyond simply recognizing the problem and start exploring solutions.
Okay, what kind of solutions?
What if we reimagined our relationship with work?
Okay.
Valuing quality of life over endless productivity.
I like that.
What if we shifted our consumption habits, prioritizing experiences and connection over material possessions?
Those are some big shifts.
They are.
But I can see how they align with the values of our hunter-gatherer ancestors.
Right.
Valuing community, balance, and a deep connection to nature.
Exactly. It's about romanticizing the past or trying to return to a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, but about learning from their wisdom. They understood the importance of sustainability, of living in harmony with the rhythms of nature.
It's we need to find a way to blend the best of both worlds.
I agree.
The innovation and progress of agriculture with the balance and sustainability of our nomadic past.
Yeah, you fit on something really important. I think it's about finding that sweet spot, that equilibrium where we can meet our needs without depleting resources or sacrificing well-being.
But how do we get there? It feels like such a daunting task.
It is.
Especially when we're up against these deeply ingrained systems and patterns.
It is a challenge, no doubt, but I find hope in the fact that more and more people are waking up to these issues.
Really?
There's a growing awareness of the need for change, a desire for a more sustainable and equitable way of life.
That's encouraging. So where do we go from here? What can our listeners do to be a part of this shift?
It starts with small steps. We can re-examine our own habits, our priorities, and our values.
Okay.
We can support local farmers, connect with nature, and prioritize experiences over material possessions. And most importantly, we can start conversations, share ideas, and work together to create a future that we're proud to pass on to generations to come.
I love that the power of conversation, of shared knowledge, of collective action.
It's powerful.
It's a reminder that we're not alone in this journey.
We're not.
We're all part of this interconnected web of life. And we all have a role to play in shaping its future.
Exactly. And by understanding the past, by seeing how we got to where we are, we can start to imagine a different path forward, a path that honors our history, respects our planet, and prioritizes the well-being of all.
It's a powerful and inspiring message. So to all our listeners out there, we invite you to join us on this journey of exploration and rediscovery. Dig into your own history, challenge the assumptions you've inherited, imagine a future where we're not just surviving, but thriving.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the agricultural revolution. We hope you've unearthed some food for thought, some seeds of inspiration for your own life. Until next time, keep exploring,
keep questioning, and keep digging deeper.